Hello friends, this is Growl. Welcome to episode 3 of we open our weekly chests and talk about the affixes, Wafflecat Weekly, whatever we call the series. Today we have hopefully a little bit better boxes than we did last week. We took a lot of not so great options. We actually managed to raid on our pally. We did a decent amount of keys. Last week was the first week that we did any serious amount of pushing, so that was real fun. I think we need a little bit more IO on our pally. It'd be nice to reach 3K this week, but I don't know if that's doable. We'll talk about it once we get. I guess we can look at our IO score. Actually been playing my Mistweaver a little bit. I did a little bit of upgrading of some stuff. I recrafted, or rather crafted, the Venthyr Lego on him. It's starting to look like Mistweaver might be pretty good in raid next year, so I'm kind of trying to catch up on this guy. I have one really junky piece, and that is this trinket right here. To be honest, there's not a lot of good trinkets from Mythic Plus, so I don't even know what trinket I would really want to replace it. Like, I guess Ruby, but even that's, like, I don't think is super good. Other than that, I think it's time to try and sneak this guy into raid. We're 250 item level, so maybe we'll try and get this guy into raid. See what we can do. But he's looking good, actually. Although I guess I want some crit, ideally. So my number one priority is I want to replace some stuff on him with some crit. And unfortunately we have... I don't even know if I'd consider this an upgrade or not. I guess I don't know. I don't really care that much. Ideally we replace this with raid stuff anyway. I'm just going to take the tokens. It might seem bad, but maybe there's hope that we actually socket some stuff and use this guy, so I actually don't mind having a little bit more research. Oh, did I even get the tokens? I might have them in my inventory still. Hold on, I think we have to spend them first, right? No. Okay, this guy, what do we want? I think we want to get research. Bam. Alright, now we can take tokens. Now we can get more research. A tragedy, but also at this point in the season, our gear's pretty dang good. But yeah, look forward to the Prodigy raid appearance. Okay, so we got Fortified, Spiteful, Grievous, Tormented. Spiteful Grievous, I don't know. Let's think about it. I feel like Spiteful Grievous is one of those affixes where it depends on who you are, you know? If you're a mage, you love Spiteful Grievous. It's just like, oh, this is free damage. There's nothing to do. But for melee healers, like a Holy Pally, I feel like Spiteful Grievous can actually be pretty tough. Our poor Druid. He needs a lot of stuff. We need some rings. We need some trinkets. Someone commented on why don't I just use... Oh god, look at my... I just realized my equipment sets I still have from last expansion. Shrine, KR. Oh no, let's get this out of here. Why don't I just use Valor to upgrade stuff? And I could in theory, but kind of what I like to do is just stockpile my resources if I'm not like using the character, and just kind of hold on to everything, because you never know, right? Like maybe I'll decide I want to play tank or do something, and I'll spend all the stuff that way. Not bad. We have a crit verse socketed ring. I think we're gonna take it just because it's so high item level anyway, although my haste is already really low, and using a ring that doesn't have haste definitely feels bad. Like I'm gonna replace this 226 one just because it's such a big upgrade, but at the same time, if I was seriously playing this character, I would definitely want 2 haste rings from dungeons and just Valor upgrade them up, because my haste already is way too low. And rings have such a large chunk of secondary stats, so like you can see both of these rings have about like 250 stats. This one even has a little bit more, whereas like boots, this one only has half of that, right? So making sure that you have the stats that you want on your rings is definitely the most important. Same with your neck. Your neck has a bunch of stats on those. You can see I have a neck with no haste as well. Our druid hasn't been fortunate in getting the right pieces. I think if my druid was well geared, I would enjoy it again. I've been defaulting when people ask me what my favorite character to play nowadays is, just to say Paladin. It was Druid for a while, and then it was Druid and Paladin, and now it's just turning into Paladin. But I think a lot of that is responsible to my Druid's gear is just not up to par. Like, I think if my Druid was full Mythic Raid geared, had like 30 haste, I think it would feel better. Let's see. Still need an offhand on this guy. Still need some wrists. Trinkets are alright. Our rings are alright. Let's see what we can get. These are kind of like the boring boxes. These are like the practice ones, you know. I gotta practice opening boxes. Okay, so this is a crit verse ring. And do I want to replace a 236 haste verse ring? My haste is really low on this guy too. I'm going to take this anyway. I don't know if I'll use it, but it's good to have. I feel like for disc especially, you want to have really high haste on your rings. Using a crit verse ring kind of feels bad. I'm just gonna take it and put it in my inventory. Maybe I honestly might just use it for Holy if I ever play Holy. Like, I'm definitely not replacing this ring that has haste on it. And this one's, I feel like this, like a high haste ring and a higher item level non-haste ring are sort of the same in value for me. But who knows, I might use this for something. Alright, now we'll go on to the real boxes. I believe I did at least 4 keys on my shaman this week. I don't think I did 10. I'm somewhere in the middle between 4 and 10. I brought him out for a few keys. I really like shaman for tyrannical miss, just because it feels a lot safer for the first boss, and Vesper is just nice for the maze. But I don't know if I did 10 whole keys, so we'll have at least 2 vault choices. Unfortunately, we just need some raid loot on this guy. Oh gosh, we need a chest. We need a chest really bad. I think it may be the case that I haven't gotten a single chest in the entire time I've played. I don't think I've gotten a single chest since I started this entire season, which is a little bit funny because this guy is what? Almost 2,800 Mythic Plus rating, and I haven't gotten a single chest drop. I'm still using one from the first tier. He's been doing all right though. He's been doing some keys. I snuck him into a Plaguefall 26. So we're hoping for a chest here. Unlucky. So we only had 2 vault slots. This is a pretty nice cape. I kind of like this cape. Let's look at our choices here. So our current cape is, oh, we basically have this cape already, or very close. This might actually be junk. Our 2 rings are really good. We have 2 252 like pretty high verse rings, one with crit, one with haste, and our cape is also a 252 haste verse cape. I don't know if I would use either of these items. I'm tempted to want to use the cape just for speed, but I don't think it's worth giving up the 60 verse. I think my haste is already like kind of where I want it, maybe a little bit high. I know when I watch Thaner, he plays with like 19% haste or so. Yeah, unlucky. I think we just take tokens. This has to be one of the worst batches of weekly vault loot we've had yet. But don't worry, we have our paladin left. So our paladin is promising this week. So we managed to full clear the raid. We're back raiding again on our pally. So we have 3 raid vault slots, 3 mythic plus slots, and there's 1 very important item that we need remaining, and then we're pretty much good to go on our pally. Does the series just end when we get our last item on our pally? So last week we got our legs, I think, that we needed, and we have, or maybe we got the helm actually. I think we got the helm last week, the legs the week before. So every single week we've got an upgrade on our pally. We essentially have best in slot gear in every single slot. So some of the upgrades we could get, we could get maybe a better cape. I'm not sure if I would use a 252 haste verse cape over this. having mastery isn't like, these are not really the stats that I want, but having 40 leech is like really nice. Like I don't really think I care about stats that much to not use this. And I could get a small upgrade on this ring. I have one of them with speed in my inventory that I need to spend some things on to socket and enchant and stuff if I really want to. But I could get a better version of this ring, or maybe the Sylvanas ring I might use. I use that a little bit in MDI. I've been using Ruby a little bit too. I have a 246 one, so it could be a small item level upgrade. Of course, obviously any of these Mythic Plus pieces with like haste or leech or avoidance would be cool. But the big item we need is our shoulders. So we can get 259 haste verse shoulders from Sylvanas. Need those. Right, here goes nothing. I didn't sync it very well. Okay, alright, it's just making fun of me at this point. Okay. So we see a ruby. So the ruby is nice. Let's see, we have a haste mastery weapon. I don't think this is one that we would want to use. Don't want that mastery. We have verse mastery pants. This is not super exciting. And we have a really high verse ring. I actually saw Timbermaw using this ring. He did have leech or something on the... I think he had leech on it. Crit verse risk. So unfortunately we can't take these risks because they're a dom socket slot. We can't take these chests because they're a dom socket slot. So it looks like we're taking our 252 ruby. I'm not too upset about this. This is a good trinket and it's an upgrade. It's like a direct upgrade for me. I think it's like probably one of the lowest upgrades I'd care about, but getting an upgrade on a character this geared, we can't complain. We can't complain. Bam. Alright. Let's we'll do this. Also delete this out of my inventory too, just in case I have any equipment like sets or anything, so they don't get mixed up. All right, so now we got our ruby, we have our changeling with leech. Yeah, this guy's really geared. This guy's really geared. He's not like, obviously you can always, if you're like someone who's been mythic raiding every week, you'll have slightly better gear than this, but like I feel like this is definitely enough to do essentially any content in the game I'd want to. Alright, so let's look at the affixes. Oh, we have a 28 key. This is terrifying. The affixes this week: Spiteful, Grievous, Tormented. So I would describe this week as a week that you can go pretty fast. Like, this is not a week that'll slow you down that much, but it can be difficult, especially on healers. Grievous and Spiteful can be really difficult. So this is a week of, I would describe it as like, okay, it's not a bad week, but it's definitely not the best fortified week. It's like maybe the second or third best. And so this is a week you can definitely get some score, especially this late in the season. Everyone's been pushing last week, so hopefully people will be a little bit more excited to play. Definitely can get some score this week. Let's look at some of the dungeons. I think hopefully our MDT should be working now. We have some real routes in here. I remember I had to like clear out all my routes. I was scared of like sharing any weird MDI stuff. So first, Spiteful, since Spiteful's pretty easy, there's not a lot of spots you want to talk about Spiteful. The one that comes to mind is the Miss Maze. Miss can actually be a little rough this week, just because dealing with, like, first of all the bosses with Grievous can be pretty challenging, although it is fortified, so they shouldn't be too tough. And the Miss is really tough with Spiteful. That's because you can't open these gates in between the mazes when you're out of combat. So a big part, like, there's actually a lot of strategy in how you play the maze. But the short of it is, try not to get in combat with the Spiteful as you're doing the maze, and then be the one that opens the door. And if you're a class like a rogue that has a vanish or a mage or something like that, you can drop your combat and then run through the door really quick. And that will hopefully help your team speed things up. again, in a low level pug, it doesn't matter too much, but hey, every second counts. There aren't too many spots where Spiteful is a really big problem. Sanguine Spiteful can be a little annoying because of the close corridors and kind of like the heavy group damage, but at the same time, Spiteful works in activating these lanterns that give you stacks, so you can actually build stacks really easily in Sanguine this week. Even with not too many mobs, you can just pull like 6 mobs into a lantern, and then when you kill them, they drop 6 Spitefuls, so you'll end up maxing your stacks anyway. So it gives you a little more flexibility, and it makes it so you can build stacks more quickly. So I'd say overall, Spiteful is probably good for Sanguine. You just have to watch out a little bit. Also, I think not being tyrannical in Sanguine is always a sigh of relief, because those bosses, I think, are really, really tough. And the last one, very small, but the portals in theater as well. The portals you can't go through if you're if Spiteful, so you kind of have to watch out. You want to make sure you kill those really quick. Grievous, I don't know. Grievous is kind of, it's just, it can depend a lot on what healer you play and what your group has and all that. But overall, Grievous is a healer. You just need to have like a more defensive mindset the whole week. Like, you can't just be trying to pump damage the whole time. You know, most other situations as a healer, you know, if someone's at 80% health but they're not in danger, it's totally fine to just keep DPSing or healing the tank or whatever and not worrying about them. But during Grievous, like, if someone's not 100% health, the best thing you can do is always just to top them immediately. And it kind of reinforces these bad habits of like turning healing into playing whack-a-mole, where you just like top everyone instantly. But it's just what you have to do. It's sort of what you have to do. I actually have a whole video talking about Grievous and some tips. I think it was, I don't even remember. I think it was like a Mistweaver Sanguine Key or something, where I just went over some good tips for Grievous. So maybe I'll leave a link for that in the description of the video if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, it shouldn't be a bad week. Should be able to slam some keys. There's a few things I wanted to talk about. Oh, one I've been getting asked a lot about is our plans for the Great Push. Since my group hasn't really been pushing lately, I've been playing with other people. A lot of people are asking like what's going on with Great Push. We're definitely playing. It might not be like the exact Incarn 5 roster again. We're kind of like just finalizing it and figuring it out now. Ultimately, like, we put in a lot of time into MDI, a lot more than we probably anticipated, and I think some of the squad just wants a little bit of a break before 9-2. They're kind of like doing other stuff, and they don't want to like put this big time commitment like smack dab in the middle, you know. Like, sometimes you just want to take a couple months and just like play another game and chill with your buds and whatever, and putting Great Push like in the middle of everything can kind of ruin that. So I'm just letting the squad do what they want to do. But as far as I know, Dorky's going to be tanking and I'm going to be healing, and we'll see who else wants to play, and we'll be able to get other people if certain people don't want to play. Should be real fun. I'm excited and also a little nervous for like the Legion dungeons. Hopefully I get a little practice in those, but going into a new dungeon in a tournament format is like a little bit intimidating. I don't really know what to expect, but I guess it's probably way out of the memory of everyone else too, so I doubt everyone is really gonna have like any, you know, that much of an advantage or whatever. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the YouTube stuff lately. I've been trying to put some more vids, just kind of slowly rolling out. My hope is that I can get back to maybe like 3 or 4 vids a week. I think the best case scenario is if I have like 2 sort of like regular series, kind of like this, a week, and then that way it just lets me, you know, I can do 2 of those a week, and then 2 kind of whatever videos I think fit the topics or the things that I want to do. And I think 4 vids a week is a pretty, hopefully that's enough content. It never is enough content, but hopefully it's better than it was before. If you have any ideas for sort of like topics or series for videos, let me know for sure. I like have a lot of stuff that I like to do and that I've been doing, but I'm sure you've noticed that a lot of the video series I do are just keys and talking about keys, whether it's like me doing dungeons or watching someone else do dungeons or commentaries of dungeons. Like, I like those, and that's obviously, you know, probably a big reason why we're here at this channel in the first place. But at the same time, if there's other WoW related stuff that you think might be interesting, whether it's like just a one-off vid or a series, I'd be interested to hear your guys' opinions. Although it can be hard. I get stuck a lot around this time of the season where I don't want to talk too much in depth like strategy stuff, just because things are going to change a lot with 9-2, right, in the coming months. Like if I spend a lot of time and develop some videos on like you know, oh, what are the pros and cons of like the different healers and like how do they play right now, it's like, well, that'll all change in a couple months. So it's kind of where I don't want to say stuck, but just sort of figuring stuff out now. Oh, and lastly, the 9.2 announcement was out. I put out a video talking about some of the legendary ideas, like what sort of combos that you might want to play for healers. My overall thoughts on it, a lot of people have been asking me about it. I'm kind of like, you know. I think the video reveal that they didn't really say a whole lot. Like, I like that they're excited for the new zone and the storylines and stuff. And to be honest, that stuff's important to a lot of people, but just not really to me. So I more care about like how fun the raid is going to be and how the tier sets interact and how the new dungeon is going to play in Mythic Plus. And unfortunately, that's just a lot of stuff that I don't really know yet. You know, I can't really see how all that goes. So I'm kind of like on the fence about it. I would have liked to see some sort of like I guess I was kind of hoping for some like crazy unexpected news, like maybe they did another new dungeon or some, you know, something that they had to reveal that, oh, this is what we've been working on for 9.2 this whole time. Just as sort of like a, you know, something surprising and cool to look forward to. And it was just like sort of a normal patch video, not to say it was bad, but just it was like average, you know. It was just the run-of-the-mill normal stuff. So yeah, definitely looking forward to 9.2. I think 9.2 is going to be great just because 9.15 had a lot of good quality of life improvements and like things that made the game better, but you can't really experience them, right? Or you can, but it's just in the same way that you did before, right? It's sort of the same as 9.05, where they added a lot of cool stuff to the game, but if you played the beginning of the patch, you're sort of like been there, done that, you know? Like if you've done the raid, if you're happy with your raid progress and you don't really feel like pushing keys, it's like, well, there's not really anything new to experience this like covenant swapping and everything else. So I think once we get the 2 new dungeons in Mythic Plus and we get the new raid and everyone's, you know, people return and they try the new stuff, I think the systems will feel they'll feel like they have a lot less friction. So that wraps up about what I want to talk about this week. It will be maybe a mixed bag for my streaming. I do kind of want to sneak in. We can look at my IO too on our guy. So we managed to time 27s on Tyrannical on every dungeon except for DOS. We had a lot of failed attempts at DOS, which were tragic. However, we could still use a lot of fortified score. You can see some of the dungeons I have like 22s, 23s, 24s, and fortified. So I kind of want to spend a couple days just like doing some of these and just seeing how high I can get. I don't think I could really get to 3K. We would need to do some like 28s on fortified, which is maybe possible, but I guess I don't know what to expect with Grievous, so we'd have to give it a whirl. But so hopefully this week will be a little bit of pushing keys. Probably going to be streaming raid later today as well, I think. I don't know when raid days are. I don't really pay attention. And then eventually we're going to segue into Great Push practice. I think Thursday Tournament Realm comes out for Great Push, and I have no idea what our plans are in terms of if we're going to stream or what's going on. I think the situation that most competitors feel for Great Push is we want to stream and we don't want to go that hard, but at the same time, you know, if other teams are not going to stream and they're going to go hard, we sort of feel obligated to. So it's kind of a matter of like waiting to see what some of the other teams do before we decide. So anyway, that wraps up everything. Thanks for watching. Wish you guys good luck in your vaults as well if you're still to open them, and happy keying, friends.